Welcome to the video series on That Startup Story. This is Seshu and I have with me Mr. Vinod Muthukrishnan, the co-founder of Cloudcherry. Cloudcherry is a SaaS-based platform for tracking and measuring customer delight. Welcome, Vinod.
Thanks.
Vinod, we've seen a lot of news recently about Cloudcherry for all the right reasons. So before we actually dwell into the details, we like to know a little about your pre-startup days. Mm-hmm. And what experiences did you gather before you actually started Cloudcherry?
Sure. So I think I've only worked in two places before Cloudcherry. I spent 9 years in the merchant navy. I was the first officer on a merchant ship, and then out of pure chance, not really out of a plan, I joined a fintech startup as part of its founding team. It's called Market Simplified. It still does phenomenal work. So I spent 9 years in the merchant navy and 7 years in a financial technology startup before I kind of came into Cloudcherry. Yeah.
So when you started Cloudcherry, what was your initial offering to your customers, and what was your unique selling proposition that you wanted to offer?
When we started, to be honest, we were fairly basic, right? But the one thing that we saw on day one, which was relevant, and today we've of course made the value prop more sophisticated, is real-time customer engagement. You know, the ability to interact with the customer real-time, the ability to get alerted when a service exception happens real-time, and the ability to interject that poor experience. So in a very social media-driven world, the real-time nature of our platform was, a key part of our offering on day one. And today, like 2.5 years later, that one point still resonates very strongly with brands. So today, I mean, it's become a very comprehensive platform, right? So, so the platform primarily works on 3 phases. The first is real-time customer engagement, which means the ability to engage with, ask questions of, or listen to customers on a real-time basis. Now that happens across 17 channels. So everything from listening to social media to sentiment analysis to integrating within the apps of customers to email, SMS, or real-time tablet integration. So we have 17 such channels, right? We have chatbots, we have IVR. So to facilitate real-time conversations with customers, you need to be truly omni-channel. So we're probably the only ones with 17 channels of engagement. Then of course comes the real-time nature of, first is you're listening to customers real-time. Next is being alerted when a service exception happens, right? Being alerted is not enough. You need to escalate it suitably, open up a support ticket, get back to customers, either call them or email them on a real-time basis. So closing the loop with customers on a real-time basis is the second part of the puzzle. A third and very important is the analytics that you derive on it, right? This is a very tactical loop, right? Ultimately, millions of customers interact with your brand across all of these touch points, across the customer journey with your brand. And unless you have very, very strong analytical capabilities, you won't be able to churn that data and find out what's the signal that is coming through the noise, right? What do your customers want? And what your customer wants changes by location, the demographic sort of the customers, the product that you're offering. You may be offering 10 things to your customers, right? So the ability to look at your customer experience through all those filters allows you to take very, very pointed action. So the analytics module, the reporting module, the visualization module is a very, very important part of our offering. So it's real-time customer engagement, real-time alerting, escalation, loop closure, and the ability to churn and analyze this data and take actions based on that. That's the complete value prop.
Okay, so Cloudcherry actually tracks and measures the customer delight, and what are the parameters that you actually measure to evaluate the customer delight of a particular brand?
So we were always very clear that we wanted to quantify delight, right? Because when you quantify it, you can measure it, you can track it, improve it, compare it, and so on and so forth. So obviously we have our own customer delight score, which is a weighted average score that you can create your own index, right? And we obviously support the net promoter score. So net promoter score obviously is a Bain trademark. It's very established. It's a measure that a lot of businesses across the globe use, right? So we obviously help brands not just measuring NPS is fairly easy, but we allow them to use our technology to run their entire net promoter system or customer centricity program. So the quantification is that one of the metrics, delight score. So you can do CSAT, customer satisfaction. You can do NPS. You can do my delight score. You can do customer effort score. Any score that quantifies customer experience, we can do. But then on, I mean, you can really measure tons of things. You can, for example, say what's the net promoter score of millennials who came to my online store to buy product X, right? That small subsegment of customers also you can quantify it. So then you can go pretty deep.
You need to integrate your system with a lot of other systems. So how well is it playing well with the IVRs and the POS systems, support systems of various other companies?
So actually the day one when we architected the platform, the first set of architecture happened around the APIs. So the API is sort of at the heart of the Cloudcherry system, right? In fact, our own mobile apps talk to our system using our APIs. So it's not that we've created an API for external parties. We are consumers or clients of our own API, right? So with those APIs, we are now, for example, integrated with Capillary. So Capillary is a partner of ours. So Capillary's CRM data, loyalty data interplays with ours using that, right? We are also doing, so we support a lot of third-party software. So there are a couple of integrations that I can't speak about now. But on the ticketing front, on the real-time loop closure front, we are in the process of aligning with someone, right? So the API is very important because you need to be able to measure experiential data and see its impact on loyalty, by demography, on transaction, right? So integrating POS systems, CRM systems, ticketing systems becomes uber important for us. So integration is sort of core to our architecture. Right?
And when you started up Cloudcherry, you need to find your founding team which shares the same passion and vision as you, and that is often challenging for many startups. So how did you actually empower your company with a fantastic founding team?
So there I think we're very lucky. When we decided to start this company, it was Professor Sriram from Great Lakes, right? And obviously Dr. Bala and Mr. Hari from Great Lakes also were, sort of founding investors, and they were mentors to us. My first co-founder I found in the first day itself. So Vijay, who heads our sales, was involved with the company and had worked on a sort of a prototype of what Cloudcherry should become on day one. Right? So he's kind of, I always say, the philosophical soul of the idea. Right? So Vijay was there on day one. He loved the product. He loved selling it. So he's our chief evangelist, head of sales now. So as the founding team came together, we said, okay, what are the skills do we want on day one, right? Obviously, we wanted to create a global brand. So brand and marketing, we thought, was an investment you don't make later. You make even before the product is ready. So Prem, who's someone I know very well, who has got an advertising, marketing, branding background, we've been kind of talking about starting something for a long time. And the moment this happened, I called him, and I think he was ready even before I called. So so that took care of Prem. And then Nagendra was my co-founder. Rather, he was a co-founder of the startup I joined previously, right? And he had kind of moved on a few years ago. So we knew that technology is at the heart of creating a global firm. And Nagendra is probably the best technologist I have ever interacted with. So I called Nagendra and asked him what he was doing, and he wasn't fortunately involved actively with something else. And I said, you want to join this founding team? And he said, absolutely. So that's how Nagendra for tech, Prem for brand and marketing, Vijay for sales, and I. So the four of us came. So almost everybody either had a startup background or wanted to do something new, and the idea kind of resonated with everybody. So today actually we've had, after a year and a half, we've had 2-3 more people join us in our management team whom we consider co-founders, right? So Vidya, who heads our customer experience practice, Mansi, who heads the online business, and Arvi, who heads our product. All of them kind of significantly cut the compensation they were getting wherever they were working, right? To come join this team because they believed in what we were doing, right? So we were fortunate enough to get people who were already motivated to create a great company. So it took very little effort for me. We were just lucky to find or attract these kind of people to come join us. Yeah.
So for any company, the initial days you need funding from investors, if not from your parents or relatives. So how did you actually manage your financials during your initial days? Who were your initial investors, and how did you go about them?
So initially, I think we handled it very badly. That's the short answer. So initially, the founding investors had committed a certain amount of money, but we kind of soon realized that we had grossly under budgeted for what we wanted to do. Then it was me and some of my friends, so who kind of said, we believe in what you're doing and we'd like to contribute. So at some point in time when we had no money, some friends we never went to them. There are some 4 friends of mine who in a matter of a week or 2 kind of just, I think it's maybe fortune order, came and asked me, hey, what are you doing? Is there an opportunity to invest? Right? And this was when we really had no money, no business, and so they came to us, right? And so we were very fortunate. So they kind of bought us 1 month at a time. Every guy who came in gave us another month or 2 of runway length or whatever. So we were pretty hand to mouth in the first year, right? And then I remember Professor Sriram came to us and said, there's this Chennai startup event, CAI had an event called the Startuppreneur event, and you should apply. So usually, I'm very cynical of events and awards and all, but Sriram said, let's do it. So kind of we went and applied for it, and fortune, whatever you call it, we won the best ITES startup at the Startuppreneur 2014 event. So that's the
I see that. Yes.
That was very good for us because suddenly the local ecosystem noticed us. We met the Chennai Angels at that event, and in December I think we pitched to Chennai Angels. And when we pitched to Chennai Angels, IDG Ventures was also part of that presentation. So that very afternoon, they said, look, we'd like to invest in you. And that's how the first round of funding was secured.
And what did you do with your first round of funding money? Was that spent on marketing or brand building, or is it on the product development?
So a little bit of both, right? We are at a point wherein our tech team is very small. So one of the great things with having great tech people is that you don't have bloated tech teams, right? So I think we barely hired a couple of more people with that on product. Not because we didn't invest in it, but because we had great people, right? And we didn't want to create people from the primary purpose for raising money is sales. Right? So I remember at CAI Startuppreneur, they asked us on stage and said, so you're getting 2 lakhs, what are you going to do with it? So we'll spend it on sales, right? So what it allowed us to do was get a little more aggressive about selling, right? Because our first large enterprise customer had joined us around that time, around the time of the Startuppreneur event. So we spent the next 2-3 months first purely focused on understanding their needs, right? And so that you don't go to 20 customers and discover you have 20 different use cases. So I want to make sure the one use case we had with Titan, who was our first large enterprise customer, we understood it really well and distilled that knowledge back to the product, right? And by April of 2015, we were very aggressively in the market. Like anyone whom we believed required customer experience, we were hitting them. So sales and marketing was the primary expense.
Okay, I remember using your product initial days at the Titan showrooms, and that's when I actually met you at one of the startup events. A couple of months ago, I read about your news about your one more round of funding, Series A funding, I believe. So can you tell me a little about that?
So I think we're very proud of the fact that I think in India we are the #1 customer experience management platform, because one of the other entities that joined our Series A is a company called Capillary, right, which is of course one of India's most successful tech startups. And Capillary and us had a very natural synergy, right? CRM plus CEM, which was a kind of match made in heaven. And Capillary is very Asia focused, right? So we started out with the Indian market, obviously, saying that this is our home market, this is where we should fine tune our product. And we really went out to capture the Indian market. Towards the end of our last funding rounds, cash liquidity or whatever we call it, we also set up a small team to explore the US market. So look, ultimately, product success lies in going global, right? One market is not enough to create a large outcome. And we found that the US market had very similar requirements, right? Customers are the same everywhere. An unhappy customer tweets on the same Twitter channel in the US or in India. We found that customer, in a very pop culture driven world, customers thought and acted pretty consistently globally, barring some unique cultural traits. So we saw that US is a very logical extension to our business. So around the time we decided to raise the next round of funding, we knew that we had great product market fit. We knew why customers used us, what was the value, what is the return on investment. We understood that use case really well. We knew we wanted to go global. And going global involved getting investors on board, right? We needed the capital to be able to plan for the next 30, 36 months. And that's when we embarked upon raising Series A. So we're very, very fortunate that our existing investor IDG participated in the next round in a very overwhelming way. And to lead our round, we got Vertex Ventures, which is Singapore. So we got a great pedigree of investors. Okay. We had an existing investor who knew us day in and day out, positively participate in the round. And we got Cisco investments, which was great because we saw a great strategic alignment with Cisco. Cisco has a huge collaboration business unit, which is about contact center, your WebEx, right? The entire interaction space, they're very, very significantly present in. So we saw a phenomenal synergy between what they were doing or could do in the future and what we were already doing. Okay. Right? So we got on board an existing investor who was phenomenal, a new lead investor who truly represented great pedigree of money, because we also want great people to come on board who can help you grow your business. And we also got a third investor come on board who we thought could help us scale our US business. So we kind of got the best of all worlds there.
So you got more money for sales.
More money for sales. Yeah.
And talking about sales, what would be your prominent sales channels that you actually use in your day-to-day operations?
So we do a little bit of both, right? So we are huge believers of the fact that you sell your product best, right? Nobody else sells your product better than you. So we believe in having our own sales people, our own lead generation engine. But at the same time, distribution is hard to create, right? If you create the best soap in the world, unless if it's in every store in the country, you can't really sell. Yeah. So channel, for us, it was very important to identify the right partners. We first went with small channel partners, which is a big mistake, right? And we course corrected and very fortunate to get other partners on board. So today we have a very active co-marketing, co-selling relationship with Cloudcherry, which is phenomenal. We do a lot of work together with Microsoft. If you see, Microsoft has spoken a lot about their ISV program. So we are very, very closely engaged. So we are built on the Microsoft stack, right? On Azure, we use machine learning. We are part of the Microsoft Accelerator batch, which was phenomenal experience for us. And we work closely with the Microsoft team in India and in Asia Pacific for our GTM efforts. Okay. So Microsoft is a huge partner for us. Cloudcherry is a huge partner for us. There are also a couple of other partners on the consulting side that we have started to work with now. So we now believe in working with partners who are larger than us, who have larger distribution than us, bring a complementary strength or a skill, to the game. So that's the other sales strategy. But from a marketing perspective, we rely heavily on digital marketing, on content. Okay. We believe for inbound content is probably the most important hook. So we do a lot of that.
And who would be your major clients, and what geographies or verticals that you are targeting at?
So obviously we started in India. So our major clients in India are we have Titan, we have HDFC Bank, we have Axis Bank, we have Air Vistara, we have Carrot Lane. We work with Central, Fashion Lifestyle, Future Lifestyle. And we are around 30 large enterprise customers. We work with Puma. Okay. So in the US now we've started an outreach. So from a focus perspective, a lot of our effort is now going on growing two markets. One is US, North America, and next is Southeast Asia out of Singapore. So we already got somebody in Singapore full time. I'll of course be based in San Francisco. So that's the focus area. From a vertical perspective, our number one vertical is retail, then banking, financial services, insurance, and third is e-commerce. So when I say e-commerce, it's not just commerce, but any web or mobile driven business. Right? So for example, one of our clients is Vunik. and Woonik is mobile app first, right? So that's a huge area of focus for us. BFSI, e-com, retail, these three verticals really are focusing.
So you basically started working on different verticals prior to starting up Cloudcherry. So where did you get the domain knowledge about customer engagement, and did you actually get mentoring from any of your seniors or industry people?
So I think there are 3 or 4 skills that you need to bring together to create a company in any domain. I'm separating from the mix, of course, hyper specialist domains, like let's say if you're doing something in nuclear physics or biotech, right, where it's not fathomable that you can't be a nuclear physicist and set a company like that. Though Elon Musk may disagree. So see, you need to have a base understanding of business, which we learned, of course. Tech, which is the tech experience, but the domain is very interesting. I remember our investment deck had our 4 or 5 people, and at the bottom it said 231 years of experience as customers, right? So literally everything we built in the product comes from first principles, right? We believed that if I were a customer, what about me should the business know or the brand know? How should they look at aggregate information about Vinod, Seshu, and millions of people like us want, right? So the product was built ground up on pure first principles, not on prior experience, anecdotal evidence, right? Interestingly enough, the single largest company in this space, which is Medallia, right, in the US, hugely funded company. I found out they exist 6 months after we started the company. So you get what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
So we had very little concern with who exists in the space before, what they're doing before. All I knew as a customer was that I'm not getting what I want, right? If all brands were empathetic to what I wanted, how I wanted it, were responsive, right, were evolving in the way that my tastes were evolving, then I would have thought there's no need for this product, right? So the fact is the space was cluttered with products that do customer experience management. But none of that mattered to us because as customers, the effect was not showing. So hence, our domain expertise was from the other side of the table, as customers ourselves, right? And when you marry that kind of feel for the space with knowledge of technology and business, you can create a startup. So the only person in our core team who comes from a customer experience analytics background is Vidya, who got 15 years of experience with IMRP. But other than that, the team truly felt that this is a problem worth solving, right? And that's our domain experience.
That's wonderful. And what would be your hobbies outside work? Your favorite getaway spots?
Getaway, unfortunately, I haven't taken a holiday in a very, very long time. I'd say 10 years, right? So when I say a holiday, I'd say I'd discount a weekend, right? I mean, I'd count at least a 15-day holiday as a holiday. In terms of hobbies, I play cricket every Sunday. I think I'd die if I don't do that, right? That has to happen. And my wife and I both, we love to travel, but unfortunately startups doesn't allow you. I mean, you can't start a startup and then take 30 days off to travel the world, right? So we mostly try to make the most of the odd weekend getaway, right? So we went to Kodaikanal last week, but that's not the kind of travel we want to do. We want to kind of take 6 months off and travel like with a backpack, but it's a little while away. So I always say my dream is to do a travel down to the Antarctic. Because someone I knew who was an army officer was part of India's first Antarctic mission. So I remember seeing his slide deck back he went in 86 if I'm not wrong. Always wanted to go there. So not one of those cruise things where 500 people go and take photos, but sort of a smaller expedition.
So you've been through the startup journey for the last 3+ years. And what would be your most amazing part of your journey so far in Cloudcherry?
The most amazing part is when it's the 16th of the month and you've still not paid salaries and you come to office and people are still working full of energy and not on Naukri.com looking for salaries. For jobs.
Yes.
So the most amazing part is knowing that the people whom you thought were employees showing more ownership than you, right? Because it's your venture. I mean, you don't have money, you're going to still stick through it, right? Somebody else who's younger, fresh out of college, first job, we had a few people like that, working with full energy, not letting me feel that we're not paid salaries, and I remember it's 16th of the month. So knowing that you are leading people like that is probably the best experience.
Okay. So are you inspired by any leadership styles? Say whether it's Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, each of them have their own different persona. So are you inspired by any specific leadership style that you would like to incorporate in your office?
So I think I usually try not to go with most of them, because Elon Musk is hyper brilliant.
Yes.
So Steve Jobs hyper brilliant, Bill Gates hyper brilliant. Right? I'm neither. I'm not.
In the same list, we know this.
I wish. No, that's an honest assessment. It's not modesty. It's an honest assessment that they are extraordinary people, right? So to take their style without their level of intellect and intelligence is recipe for disaster. Right? So, for example, Steve Jobs was a very nasty guy. His expectation was absolute, right? Then that's also because everyone in the room knew that he's by far the smartest guy in the room. Right? It may not be the same case for us. So I'm less inspired there. I do internationally. I love Ben Horowitz. His style of very realistic style of leadership. But closer to home, I've been inspired by 3 leaders that I know personally, right? Because the lessons you learn are not the large ones; it's the smaller things. So Girish of Freshdesk, these the 3 people I call my mentors, right? So his product focus, his ambition, his ability to build a large outcome and clarity of thought, I think is phenomenal. Then there's Anish of Capillary, right? And Anish is a very calm guy. I mean, it's hard to tell. Sometimes when he talks about the hits and the misses, the tone is the same, right? The hit and the miss. Yes. So that's amazing. I mean, the ability to have a absolute calm demeanor no matter what you're talking about, and create a very sales-driven organization, which was what Capillary is. And finally, Mithun of Carrot Lane, who's been involved with us for a long time, and he's been absolutely spectacular. He's told me about the softer skills required to be an entrepreneur. How to build a company, people, board. So I've learned those things from these people. I think absolute leadership style, I want to be like a Steve Jobs, is a bit, I find it counterproductive. It doesn't apply to me for sure.
And if not for Cloudcherry, what would you be doing? What kind of a company would you be willing to build if not for a customer engagement platform like Cloudcherry?
No, sir, I actually always wanted to join the army.
Okay.
My father's in the army also, my brother's in the Navy. And it's a longer story, but why I didn't join the force. So that's why I joined the Merchant Navy. Right? Okay. I mean, the only regret I always have is not starting up earlier. So now having done this, if I go back in time, I'd start something else, and I don't know what. But I think whatever I do, I would have done if Cloudcherry were not there, or at some point in time in the future, 10 years down the line. I know for a fact I'm become a huge believer in first principles. Right? To study the market, to find out pain points, and take a very scientific or academic approach to building a company doesn't work. Whereas a first principles driven approach of what's fundamentally wrong with the world, right? What would make sense? What would make the world a slightly better place, slightly more efficient? That's probably a better way to start a company. So I'm definitely an entrepreneur for life now, but what I'll start will really depend on what appeals to me by first principles at some point.
And one last question: what does future hold for Cloudcherry and for Vinod on the personal front?
So the two are intertwined. So Cloudcherry and my fortunes are the correlation coefficient is 1. Right? There is no, you can't kind of decouple the two. So I think we have great underlying tech. We are in a space that is uber relevant. We are in a market that is potentially infinitely large, right? Because every business on the planet needs our products. And we have a team that is more driven and definitely smarter than me, right? So I believe we have all the ingredients to create a truly global company. So I think for the next 3 to 5 years, the focus is just on 2 things. One is putting your head down and doing your daily basics right. If you just do that, kind of results take care of themselves. And second is also to be able to keep your head up and see where the world is going. Because sometimes putting your head down is not the best thing you can do, right? You've seen what happened to great iconic brands of the 90s that don't exist today. So kind of marry the short term with the long term, be able to see the future better, but at the same time do the daily diligence right. So it's purely focused on execution basics. for the company. So I'm hoping we can create a company that can go IPO. I mean, that you must have that ambition.
Potential for that.
The future may hold anything. You may get acquired. You may go out of business. Anything is possible. But you definitely want to gun for a global company that can be taken public. If not given that a shot, then there's no point having started.
Yes, that's a fantastic approach, Vinod. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you so much for your time, and it was a pleasure to have you with that startup story.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching our video on that startup story. To watch more of such episodes, click on the subscribe button, and we'll get back to you soon.